Arnaud, bienvenue. You heard the interview with Mr. Panetta there, and I suppose his attitude could best be described as je ne regrette rien. Why isn't France cheering for this alliance between its two NATO allies?
Good morning. Well, first, you have to understand that what was at stake for France was much more than a contract, because providing 12 submarines to Australia was for us a strategic choice. We wanted to build a strategic partnership, which would be the pillar of our Indo-Pacific strategy. Two French presidents visited recently Australia. It's 20 hours of flight from Paris. But there were a lot of meetings. Our navies were training together. A few weeks ago, there were big training between Indian, French, and Australian navies. And so suddenly, not only we lose an important contract, but a strategic partnership is thrown away overnight. And there is another partnership which is created, announced at least, and France is excluded from the partnership. And also, I think the Americans and the Australians have had injuries, insults to the injury, because suddenly we discover they've been plotting in our back for weeks and months. We are allies. It's not a way of treating allies.
But there's absolutely no reason why the United Kingdom and the United States can't be allies both with Australia and with France, and also Australia can be an ally with us and with France. Tell the truth here. You lost out on a commercial deal. 4.7 billion is a lot of money, and you are just cross about it.
Well, first, on the figures, really, on what you said, 47 billion British pounds, I think to the French, it was only something like 6 or 7 billions, because the rest was for buying American weapon system and for building them in Australia, where you don't have actually shipyards. So it was not, really, it was not 50 billion British pounds taken from the French. Really, it was an important, but it was not that critical.
So why make such a big fuss about it?
No, but there is the first, and I insist on that. The first is political. Really, as I've said, we have been undercut in what we considered as a very important political choice, and we have been undercut by our closest allies, in a sense. The way it has been done is amazing. Really, we were not consulted, we were not warned, and basically we were told through the TV. Think of it, for months, British, Americans, Australians have been plotting in our back, basically saying, we are going to take these contracts from the French. You don't behave this way between allies. Again, France has been the first European country active in the Indo-Pacific area. Right now you have aircraft carrier, British aircraft carrier there, but our aircraft carrier was there 3 years ago.
All right. Well, you're making the case that this isn't what might look from London like a fit of pique. But explain one thing which is a puzzle here in London. You withdrew ambassadors from Canberra and Washington, but not London.
Well, I think, we don't consider that the UK has been really has played a critical role. As you know, a lot of the so-called UK technology in the nuclear field, as for the nuclear deterrence force, is actually American and depending on the Americans. So we considered that the role of the UK, in a sense, was subsidiary, that the impulse was coming from Canberra on one side and from Washington on the other one.
Is that a not very diplomatic way of saying that London isn't very important in French calculations anymore?
Again, I'm not a diplomat anymore, but I think our Minister of Foreign Affairs has said that in this history, as we say in French, the UK has been the fifth wheel of the carriage.
Well, it seems that the one thing that's not in much supply here is diplomacy. Was it very diplomatic for you to tweet that the UK is now run by a Monty Python government?
Well, really announcing that the UK is going back to imperial measures. It's really, and so it will join Myanmar and the US. It's frankly, it's amazing. It makes, it's really, I think for me, it's extremely funny. And again, I'm not a diplomat anymore. I was an ambassador, but I'm retired, and I'm using the freedom of retirement to say what I believe.
All right. Well, let's leave for the moment what our Americans would say would call a French diss of London, and let's just return to France itself. Are we seriously here seeing the beginnings of a return under President Macron to a kind of Gaullism, an independent French foreign policy?
Well, so first, I think, again, let's go beyond the storm of the today's storm. And we had President Obama, which really was totally indifferent towards Europe. I was ambassador at the time. After that, we had Trump, who was hostile towards Europe. And now you have President Biden. As you have said yourself, there was Afghanistan, and now there is this story. But frankly, when President Biden came to Europe in June, there was, on the American side, absolutely no show of interest for a real cooperation with the Europeans. The European Union had sent to Washington a long list of potential fields of cooperation, and nothing came out of Washington. So I think it's natural that today we raise the question, saying, basically, Europeans wake up, basically the Americans are having pivoted so much to Asia, to China, as you have said. Okay. The Americans don't care so much about Europe. You look, Ukraine, Syria, Libya, the Sahel, all our environment is in flames, and the Americans are not there. So that's the reason why President Macron is saying maybe we should have what he calls strategic autonomy. It's not anti-American. It's simply looking at what America is today.